Omicron is barreling its way through the world, causing frightening levels of mild symptoms and widespread natural immunity. In England, the rules are being lifted and the masks are coming off.
The government will no longer mandate the wearing of face masks anywhere.
The entire lockdown narrative is crumbling, as the same media that aggressively lobbied for it desperately attempt to fool people that they questioned it all along. And while it may only be the beginning of the end, the corona grift will soon be over. But like little Japanese imperial soldiers still fighting World War II after their country had surrendered, some people just refuse to let it go.
Taking away all restrictions suddenly, despite the data, is too much too soon. Right now we have so many people in hospital, so many on ventilators.
The number of people on ventilators is the lowest since July, and figures from the Office for National Statistics show that total deaths in England and Wales are 7.8% below the 5-year average.
Such a high case load of COVID.
Yeah, more than half of those cases are people in hospital with COVID, not from it.
People won't be able to get their operations in hospital. They won't be able to get treatment for strokes, for heart disease, for cancer.
No, they weren't able to get treatment in the first place because of lockdown. Remember, the same thing that you vehemently supported. Dr. Hillary really doesn't have good form.
So, you know, those people who haven't been vaccinated, we'd really love you to think again and be vaccinated, because 90% of people in hospital are unvaccinated right now with COVID.
That's a really figure that we have to really concentrate on. 90% of people in hospital have not been vaccinated.
Probably not a figure that we should have concentrated on, given that it was completely wrong. The actual figure was 36%, leading to Ofcom to issue an official warning after the show received 4,000 complaints. Nice grift though, mate. 2 years solid of primetime TV appearances. Gonna make anyone miss that cash cow when the party inevitably comes to an end. Wait a minute, weren't you the same guy who said this about masks before you got the memo?
You know, there's still very little evidence that this is very useful at all. Some people say it's actually worse because you're touching your face more often. And the quality of the mask, if the quality of the mask means that the mask quickly gets wet because it's a paper mask, it's probably worse than having no mask at all. And cloth masks, really very little benefit.
3 months later,
going to make it obligatory for people to wear masks on public transport makes no sense not to do that in public spaces, public areas where people can't socially distance.
Who's pushing medical misinformation now? The best way to stay safe from COVID in England: don't ditch the mask. Boris Johnson's easing of restrictions is in stark contrast to what other countries are doing to control Omicron. Here's a corona case graph of those other countries, virtually all of which had stricter mask mandates than England for much longer. Yeah, the masks worked really well over there, didn't they? Hashtag wear a mask was trending on Twitter yesterday. Alarmist bedwetters devastated that they can no longer impose their pedantic hypochondria on others. Crestfallen that their noble activist crusade of harassing other people at supermarket checkouts is about to become redundant. The wear a mask hashtag is like prisoners refusing to leave the camp when the guards have quit, left the gate open and gone home. Sorry, what? Take the mask off, mate. Can't hear a word you're saying. Get out of my fucking face, weirdo. Wearing a face mask makes you more attractive to the opposite sex, study finds. Yeah, ugly people hiding half of their face will make them more attractive. By default. Sadiq Khan says masks will remain mandatory on the London Underground as a, quote, condition of carriage. The Underground carries about 2 million passengers a day, and before it became law, about half of those didn't bother wearing a mask anyway, so good luck enforcing your poncy condition of carriage. The worst thing about all these illicit Downing Street parties is that they will make COVID skeptics and anti-lockdowners feel vindicated in their suspicions that the virus was never that dangerous, or why would the people running the country all be ignoring the rules so brazenly? Right, because given how serious it was, who'd be so callous as to ignore the rules so brazenly? Who'd screech at everyone to wear a mask while not wearing one themselves? Well, this is awkward, but Piers, I accept your apology. Let's check in on France. Mandatory mask rules since July last year. Vaccine passports up the wazoo. Rules so pedantic they banned drinking while standing up in cafes and bars. Result? 464,000 new cases recorded in a single day. There hasn't been a Gallic cell phone of this proportion since the inventor of the guillotine was executed by a guillotine. Let's check in on Israel. Even more enthusiasm for mask mandates and vaccine passports than for occupying Palestinian territories. And what happened? They just broke the global daily record for corona cases. Guess they just didn't wear enough masks. Let's check in on Canada.
Au vaccin, vous autres?
Oui, tous les deux, on a une seule dose.
Ah oui? Puis est-ce que vous êtes d'accord, vous autres, avec la vaccination obligatoire?
Oui.
Oui? Ah oui, hein?
Wow. On dirait que je les ai drillés, Julie.
Oui. Puis qu'est-ce qu'on devrait faire avec les gens qui veulent pas se faire vacciner?
On devrait appeler la police.
Ouh!
Oui.
Oui!
S'ils n'ont pas leur vaccin, ça peut mettre beaucoup de personnes en danger. Fait que comme le gouvernement est en train de faire en ce moment, il faut leur couper petite chose à petite jusqu'à temps qu'ils se tannent puis qu'ils se fassent vacciner.
En tout cas, on a des futurs politiciens à côté de nous. Merci!
Future politician? More like future COVID camp guard. Although send her to Australia, they'll probably make a supreme leader for life. Fact checkers say mass formation psychosis isn't happening, despite British government behavioural scientists admitting that that's exactly what they did. Oh yeah, and those vaccine side effects? All in your head.
Then we told them that most of the vaccine side effects were actually caused by the nocebo effect.
But why is anyone bothered about vaccine side effects? The media told me they were actually a good thing. The media also tells me that morbid obesity is the future of fitness. Let's check in on the media. CNN to create team dedicated to covering misinformation. Marlborough to create team dedicated to covering health benefits of cigarettes. But some major international newspapers are apologising for their hysterical coverage and their failure to hold authorities to account. The rats are fleeing the sinking ship that is the lockdown narrative. Sky News, are daily cases now meaningless? Why do we live with flu? Is media ignoring vaccine side effects? Oh, now you're asking these questions. The only question you asked at government press briefings for the past 2 years is why aren't we locking down harder? And now, only as we near the end, are you asking these questions? Sky News once more, highlighting the important distinction of people who died with and from COVID. Again, where were you 2 fucking years ago? You don't suddenly get to pretend that you're speaking truth to power, when for the past 24 months you've been begging the power to abuse their powers even more. For the lion's share of the decade so far, you've behaved like dutiful members of the lockdown Politburo, like Nazi collaborators in France on VE Day. Me? Vichy? No. Informant? No, I was always in the French resistance, honest. The same media class grifting off all the lockdown heartache stories to score cheap points against the Tories. Missed cancer screenings, loved ones dying alone in hospital, funerals via a live web stream, depression, alcoholism, suicide. When they all vehemently lobbied for lockdown, for harsher lockdown measures than the Tories even imposed. You don't have the moral high ground. You never did. Sit the fuck down. Look, I'm not saying this is all over just yet. The consequences of what they've already done to us will be felt for a generation or more. And Bill Gates promises there'll be more pandemics on the way soon. But boy is it a refreshing white pill to see some of these mercenaries scuttle away with their tail between their legs. The pandemic may not be over, but the grift appears to be coming to an end, as it increasingly becomes clear we were right and they were on the wrong side of history.